Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host Brett Murphy, and for today's video I have a brand new ranking for you all, and I am going to be ranking all 7 of the 2022 comic book movies. So another year is coming to an end, and to no one's surprise, comic book movies have dominated the box office once again. Whether you love them or you hate them, it seems like they're here to stay, so we may as well talk about them. Before I hop into the actual ranking itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my ranking videos. There is already over 100 videos on that playlist with plenty more on the way, so if movie rankings are your thing, then check that playlist out and I guarantee you'll find something you like. And so without further ado, let's hop right into things. Number 7. Morbius. Look, this movie was just one big joke. It really was. That's all it turned out to be. At the end of it all, it was a massive mess from top to bottom. I mean, seriously, the CGI was all over the place. The story was as dull as can be. Pretty much all of the performances were completely and utterly wooden. The only thing I actually enjoyed about this movie was Matt Smith's performance, because it feels like he actually knew the movie was going to be garbage, so he just hammed it up and went as over the top as possible and was actually entertaining and funny. Not to mention, Tony was completely tone deaf, considering this movie turned into a massive meme all across Twitter, and that translated to Sony's reps as, let's re-release the movie and try to make it this big thing. They released it again and it bombed even harder the second time. Without a doubt, the worst comic book movie of the year. One of the worst comic book movies in recent memory, possibly ever. Number 6. Thor: Love and Thunder. I might actually get a bit of heat for this one because it seems there are quite a few people out there who really enjoyed this one, and that's good for you if you did. I'm not trying to make you feel bad or take anything away from you when it comes to this movie. It just wasn't for me. I wanted so much more. As a massive fan of Thor Ragnarok, I had very high hopes for Love and Thunder, and I left very, very disappointed. I thought that the visuals were very hit or miss. None of the jokes landed for me at all. The goats were insanely annoying. There were some unbelievably cringy moments woven throughout the entire thing. The only positives were Chris Hemsworth, because he always does a phenomenal job as Thor. I thought Natalie Portman's return was handled very well, and I loved her as the almighty Thor, and I thought that Christian Bale was fantastic as Gorr the God Butcher. I just wish he got more screen time and we got to see the God Butcher actually butcher some gods. I wish they went into the darker areas a little bit more than they did. Some of the action was pretty cool, but all in all, I left the theater being very, very conflicted, much more mixed than I wanted to be after how much I loved Ragnarok. Number 5. DC League of Super Pets. I know a lot of people might disagree with this one too, especially with me putting this over Thor, and there might even be some people who disagree with me putting it over Morbius, but look, like I just said with Thor, the reason that one is so low is not because it's necessarily that bad. Like, it's nowhere near the level of Morbius and how awful that movie was in my opinion, but I was just so disappointed. What DC League of Super Pets did differently is the fact that it was exactly what I expected. Hell, in some parts it might have actually surprised me a little bit. You can watch the trailer and you will know what you are getting into. I thought the voice work was solid. I thought the animation was great. It really is a fun little time. If you have kids, throw it on. I'm sure they'll love it and you'll probably enjoy it too. Number 4. Black Adam. I was a bit more mixed on Black Adam than I wanted to be as well. I thought it started off very slow. The first half of the movie, I really wasn't into it all that much. Thankfully, when the second half kicked off, I got more invested in the characters, a bit more invested in the world and the story. The action went a bit bigger and a bit flashier, and by that point, in the time that the credits rolled, I was hooked and I ended up enjoying myself overall. The villain, Sabbac, was unbelievably underwhelming, one of the worst comic book movie villains in recent memory. Dwayne Johnson basically just plays Dwayne Johnson. It's the JSA that really shines here. I loved Aldous Hodge as Hawkman. I loved Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. And I also love Cyclone and Atom Smasher in here as well. So was it as good as I was hoping it was going to be? No, not really. But did I leave the theater satisfied and having had a good time? Yeah, definitely. I was entertained. Number 3. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I have been defending this movie tooth and nail since its release. What was that, back in like May or something? People were really hyping this movie up and speculating, and rumors were running wild, setting this movie up to be something that it wasn't. Everyone was basically just expecting cameos the movie, like just cameo extravaganza with people and characters from all across every superhero movie ever. It really got out of hand. It was completely ridiculous, and that's not what this movie was at all. While yes, I do see some people's points, I do wish there were a few more cameos, and the multiverse was as mad as the title suggested. However, I ended up actually enjoying what we got here, which was a more personal story with deeper themes, more than what I was hoping we were going to see. We explore Wanda so much more in this movie, and her turn as a villain this time around was superb. Elizabeth Olsen totally delivered. Benedict Cumberbatch was flawless as always. Xochitl Gomez as the new hero in the MCU, America Chavez, was a wonderful new addition. I thought the comedy worked. I thought the visuals were stunning. I thought the horror elements were magnificent, and speaking of which, director Sam Raimi is back and arguably better than ever in my opinion. This is the most uniquely directed movie in the MCU, and I pray that he comes back to do another project in the future. Number 2, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I must admit I am eating my own words now, and have been for a few weeks, with the unfortunate, tragic, and devastating passing of Chadwick Boseman. I really didn't know why they were going to even continue making this movie. I was against the recasting of T'Challa, and I still am. I like the route that they're taking now with the future, having seen the movie. I had no idea what was going to happen, how they were going to approach this whole situation, both in the real world and in the MCU. And I am so thankful to be eating my words, because I loved this movie. I was blown away and just completely speechless when I left the theater. This movie is grand, it is epic, it is emotional, it is powerful, it is elegant, it is touching, it is all those words and so much more. I had a blast with this one. Yes, the CGI is very hit or miss like the first Black Panther. Yes, there are some story elements, Val and Everett, that could have been cut out, and I would have been perfectly happy with a bit of a shorter runtime. But at the end of it all, this movie was nearly flawless and one of the best projects that the MCU has ever put out. From beginning to end, I was completely infatuated once again with the world of Wakanda, and now we can also add Talokan to that list. Namor threaded that line perfectly between hero and villain. I thought the entire cast knocked it out of the park and gave just staggeringly good performances. And of course, Ryan Coogler's direction and Ludwig Göransson's score also go hand in hand and are truly magnificent. Number 1, The Batman. So this should come as no surprise to you whatsoever, being the massive Batman fan that I am. I am crazy thankful to Sir Matt Reeves for delivering on this movie, because that's exactly what this movie did, was deliver. Robert Pattinson quickly proved all the doubters and naysayers wrong. Paul Dano delivered one of my favorite villain performances of all time. Zoe Kravitz as Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, was used perfectly. She wasn't in the movie too much like the trailer suggested, but she also gave a beautiful performance. I was on board through this massive runtime. The entire 3 hours, I was hooked. I loved the mystery. I loved the game of cat and mouse between Batman and the Riddler. The entire supporting cast as well, like Jeffrey Wright, Colin Farrell, John Turturro, and Andy Serkis, all delivered as expected. Michael Giacchino's score is one of my favorite movie scores of the last decade. I had that shit on repeat. I had a few little nitpicks here and there, but even with that, at the end of the year, looking back, The Batman is still sticking in my mind despite it releasing way back in March. So without a doubt, I had to give it this number 1 spot. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my ranking. While you're at it, be sure to let me know how you would have ranked all 7 of the 2022 comic book movies. If you're a movie lover whatsoever, then my channel is the place to be for you. Be it rankings like this one, top 10s, versus videos, tier videos, I have all of those and so much more, with brand new videos coming every single week. So if you enjoyed this particular video, then be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you'd like to see more content from me, then smash that subscribe button right now. While you're at it, don't forget to ring that little bell icon. That way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you, and while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.